Jeremy, Steven, awesome to connect. It's been super
Mhm.
fun walking through these 4 weeks with you guys. Before we get into the actual challenge and stuff, how did you find out about me and Catching Made Simple?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I think I was online somehow, either through Instagram or something, right? I was probably flipping through and came across something. I don't recall exactly, but it was social media of some sort of.
Awesome. Did you guys take like the 7-day stance challenge by chance? No?
No, no.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I'll have to go back and see if I can see where you guys came into the system. So you guys did the 4-week challenge. Talk to me. What were some of the main challenges that Jeremy, you were running into as a catcher before doing the 4-week challenge?
I was sort of like slow. When I caught the ball to throw it to second, I was slow to put it into my hand and to like get into the position to throw.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Think about all 4 weeks. So the first week was what? What was the focus on?
Dances.
So before we did the 4 weeks together and you were working on your stances, what were some of the major challenges that you were running into there? Some of the major problems you would say?
Like in secondary, I was using a lot more energy than I am now. And for primary, I didn't really know how to do the one knee down, but now I do.
I love it. Now you got that in your arsenal, right?
Yeah.
We can elaborate on that. There's lots of stuff online, right? So you kind of take bits and pieces from everything and you try it, right? And you see what works and what doesn't. But what was great about this program is that you were able to break it down into bite-sized chunks that he could build off of. And it's like I mentioned to you before, he's never caught a real game. So over the winter, I started gathering some used catcher's gear for him because he showed an interest in playing the position. So I wanted to see if he's truly interested. Okay, let's try it out, right? Let's work in the basement at home over the winter and see what happens. So yeah, your ability to break it down into those bite-sized chunks and then him progress that skill over the course of a week and build on it every day. Yeah, it was great. You could really see the changes day after day.
So cool. You talked about scouring the internet, finding all these tips, tricks, videos. Tell me, what was your experience as you were first starting on that journey? Was that overwhelming? Were you learning a lot? Tell me a little bit more about that.
I think that when I started, I was learning a lot more things than before. Like I knew a lot before, but now I know like a lot even more of like how to do the stances and like how to properly block.
So you jogged my memory, and I remember now how I found out about you. I came across, I think it was an Instagram post. It was like, "Does your stance suck?" or something like that, right? And I was like, yes, it does. So I remember watching that and then just followed you from there. And I really struggled with Jeremy because I don't know if it's because he's young and flexible and maybe not as strong, but I wanted to work on primary and secondary stances with him. And it was a challenge to understand, okay, what is a proper primary and secondary stance? What does that look like?
Yep.
And even I was testing some gear, like I got him chesty and it was, but he'd go down in his primary. And I don't know if it's because, like I said, he's so young and flexible. Like it was like riding up in his chin. And he had like at first a goalie style catcher's mask and it was pushing up on the mask. And so anyway, I had to like experiment with a bunch of things. And anyway, I got him some knee savers and that seemed to kind of just prop him up a little bit more where it wasn't riding up. And then I got him the traditional style mask. And anyway, that's where it started. So coming back to your question, there's a lot of information out there. And I was just trying to find, okay, like who can tell me what is proper and how to get there? And you solved that problem.
That's awesome. As we think about what your guys' experience was like, and as you're looking at, okay, my son wants to catch, right? I'm trying to figure out all the information. I see there's a bunch of different videos, but I don't necessarily have something cohesive that I can go follow step by step. Through this program, that was a lot of what it was, right? Step by step, very basic fundamentals. So tell us a little bit about what that journey was like for you within the program and just what the experience was like.
I think Jeremy being where he's at, it was really key to have that breakdown of those fundamentals, right? Like it was, you have to start somewhere. And it's not saying that the program is for, rookie catchers or young but because to be good at anything, you really got to break it down into its fundamentals. Doesn't matter position, the sport, whatever. So I think that was really key. And that obviously helped him being a young and up and coming athlete, but it's also applicable to your more experienced, more highly skilled athletes, because it would also help get away from, in my opinion, perhaps some bad habits that they've maybe gained over the course of their development. So bringing it back, almost breaking them down and then building them back up.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Jeremy, coming back to you now. All right. One of the things that I noticed from you that was really, really incredible, quite frankly, was how you were able to take the feedback on your video and implement it the next day, day after day. And then you get to the end of the week and you're like, oh my gosh, he looks like a completely different catcher, because you kept stacking those pieces of feedback on what you were doing every day. Talk to me about that. What was that experience like as you were just continually getting better every day?
So, like, sometimes I wasn't even realizing that I was taking your feedback, but the day before, my dad would like read it to me, and then my mind would just process it and be like, okay, tomorrow we're gonna fix blank and we're gonna focus on this and do everything we did good in the last video yesterday and do it also with the feedback.
Yeah. Was that fun as you kept getting better? Like, could you tell how much better you were getting every week?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. Because I could tell as I was looking at it. All right. So I'm very impressed. Steven, what about you? What was that experience like with sending the video? Then you guys watch the video, record your own, do the journal, send it back. I give you some feedback. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was really good. So what we would do is we would watch your video and then we would practice those teachings. We'd do about 5 minutes of practice and then we would start recording. And then there were times where I would, okay, Jeremy, we've recorded it, but come watch it. I want you to watch yourself. And then even sometimes we would go back to your video and say, okay, watch Coach Anj, watch your video. Okay, where do we see the differences? Okay, let's try it again. And then we would record it again. And now we would have a couple videos to compare. And then two things. One is just the power of watching yourself is huge. You'll get there too one day, but when you tell your kids something, they're just like, yeah, whatever. Or I am doing it, right? And it's like, no, watch yourself. You're not, right? So that was huge. And again, it was only 5 minutes a day. All said and done, it was probably closer to 10 minutes by the time we'd watch your video together, practice it, record, right? Maybe revisit it, record again. But no, it was huge in just helping him build those fundamentals.
So cool. Now, as you think about where you guys are coming out of this, what are some of like the biggest lessons that you've learned, biggest takeaways that you're going to keep with you as you go on this catching journey and beyond? You want to go first, Jeremy?
What do you think, Jerry?
I'm like, whenever I mess up or like I make a little mistake, I will remember like when I did it with you, and I will remember doing that mistake. I would remember that feedback and then I would use it.
I love it. I love it.
Sorry, and you asked what was the biggest takeaway? Where we are now is Jeremy has a strong foundation to build off of, right? He can now, when somebody says, hey, go into your secondary or let's work on blocking, he's got the basics, and maybe he doesn't have them nailed down physically, but he knows in his mind what he needs to do. And he'll still need coaching, right? Like, hey, don't get your shoulders over your knees, get them back a little bit, a little taller, glove down, don't lift your glove, right? He'll need all that still. But when somebody says that to him, he'll know what they're talking about without necessarily getting the video feedback. That's probably the biggest thing. He's got that solid foundation to build off of now. If you took two kids, one that like him that went through the program and one that didn't, and they're both starting out catching, he's just that much further ahead now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that no one else can't develop into that, but I'm confident now he can show up to a practice or even get into a game and have those basics and start building from there.
That's so good. Last question for you, both of you guys. Jeremy, we'll start with you. What was your favorite part of the 4-week challenge?
Probably the learning side, because if you wouldn't learn anything and you'd be doing the same thing every day for like a week, you wouldn't be learning anything new. You'd just be doing the basics, practicing till you become really good at that. Like, let's say secondary, you'll become really good at secondary, but you won't be good at primary or signal stance, or you wouldn't even be good at blocking or throwing because you wouldn't know how to.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had fun learning and doing the actual skills of catching.
Yeah.
Steve, what was the most fun part from your shoes?
It was watching his development and progression. From my perspective, that was the most fun. Watching your kid invest the time and energy into something and then seeing the output is great. I think a big part of that was just with the video feedback, and then your comments, they were simple and straightforward, and he was able to take that and understand it and then apply it. And it was really cool to see that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys.
We're super grateful that we were a part of this and that you allowed us to be included in this group. That was a lot of fun. Time flew by. You think about it's 4 weeks, but it wasn't overall a big commitment, but well worth it. Absolutely.
Well, you guys did a heck of a job. Jeremy, way to go, man. 5 minutes a day. Crazy what that can do, right? Just in 4 weeks. Imagine if you did that every day for like 10 years. Imagine where you would be. That's crazy to think about. Whether it's baseball or something else. If you can just show up and get a little bit better every day in the same direction, then sky's the limit, dude.